Marketing is about how to market your product. You must understand the whole picture, your consumers, your non-consumers, your shoppers, your customers, their needs, the whole category entry point, everything. And if you are not in control of these, then you can't propose a good strategy.
It was a perfect logic to expand Pöttyös into the spoonable category, and as you say, you proved it with research and everything, but people are not marketers.
Exactly.
And they have different things in mind.
If you are afraid of innovating also in your daily operations, then you cannot succeed, because the world is changing so fast, and you can't always prove for yourself or your main stakeholders that that's going to be the solution, because there is never the solution.
Welcome everyone to this SEEDea podcast. As you know, SEEDea is our new thought leadership platform where we aim to bring you very good pieces of advice and information from the world of business, management, and this time marketing. This time this SEEDea podcast is on marketing. And as you know, we will be launching our Strategic Marketing for Business Leaders course in SEED. And this is a kind of prequel, a build-up conversation to this course where we'll be discussing many aspects of what marketing is in these modern times. My two guests today is Sarolta Gál, who's the Strategic Director of DDB Advertising and a long-time colleague of mine. Worked together for a long time. And Nyeste-Kállay Dániel, who is the Commercial Marketing Director of FrieslandCampina, and also responsible for the topic that we will be discussing today, which is the famous Pöttyös brand, which he is the architect and the mastermind behind. So, without further ado, let me get into the questions. First of all, Pöttyös is such an amazing brand. I know we don't use the phrase love brand nowadays, and I think Shotzi doesn't like when people use this terminology a lot, because we're trying to position ourselves differently within the course. We don't kind of believe that that's something which is, well, but if there is a love brand in Hungary, then I guess it must be Pöttyös, right? So just tell me, or tell us a little about the heritage of the brand. Where does it date back to, and where do you consider it in this kind of Hungarian brand sphere?
Yes, hello everybody. This brand was brought to life approximately 65 years ago. Hungarian dairy researchers went to the famous Soviet Union, finding out whether they can figure out a new dairy product concept. And they brought three very interesting concepts to Hungary. One was Caucasian kefir, Bulgarian yogurt, and the third was Túró Rudi, which back in the day was rather a chilled Kurdish product in Soviet Union, but what they brought back was a chilled butter and curd combination covered with compound chocolate type of product. So it was born in the 60s, and this has become a national institute by now.
And what is the next kind of major step from the 60s, from the origination? When did it become a phenomenon, let's say?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question, because back in the day it started with 3 days of shelf life, meaning then when it was produced in the northeast of Hungary, only the consumers around that area could buy it because of the limiting 3 days of shelf life. So as the shelf life could improve, more and more people could get the product. So in the course of 10 years, the product could travel to the western part of Hungary as well, and then by the time it could reach the total population, I think it became very, very popular.
Mm-hmm. Now, our course is going to be, we're going to be talking a lot about penetration of the brand. And we think one of the, let's say, the big findings, let's say, of this modern marketing growth theory is that you have to build penetration in order to keep the growth. So where do you see the penetration? How did you focus? Do you focus on this penetration? And if yes, has it kind of peaked in terms of penetration? Do you still have room to grow? Because I think, if you look around, then basically everybody is eating this product nowadays. Was it always so, or was it something that you focused on specifically?
Very good question. We always think that now this is the glass ceiling and we could never grow it further. But I must tell you that with the very recent launch of the protein to Rudi, we managed to grow the penetration significantly further, because also for those to whom it wasn't really an appealing concept now started to buy into the product, because it has also become functional, health benefit is there as well, and also it's a very healthy dessert. So penetration is the king definitely for us. We keep our eyes on that continuously. It started to grow the penetration around the early 2000s, when the brand was relaunched. It used to be Túró Rudi. It was blue pattern with the Túró Rudi label on it. But at that time it used to be a label, a product descriptor without the Túró Rudi being a brand name. And at that time, FrieslandCampina realized that everybody was referring to that product as Pöttyös because it had the dotted pattern. So they decided that we rename it as Pöttyös Túró Rudi. And then from that onwards, we could build our own brand, because Túró Rudi was not anymore a product descriptor. And luckily, each and every Hungarian starts to grow up on a way that nurses offer for the young mothers curd, which is the king of dairy, a highly nutritious, very healthy food, and the very, very first desserts that they used to offer to moms for their kids, they always told that it should be Túró Rudi. Peel off the chocolate, give it to their children, because each and every mother has to give some sweet to their children, and it's much better to have a Túró Rudi made of original, authentic dairy component than giving a sugary count line or tablet to them. And we acquire this Kurdish, sweet Kurdish taste at the very young age, either with Túró Rudi or with pancake filling or whatever you get from your grandmother or from your parents.
So do you think, was it a very brave step, you think, because from this very, I guess this was a commodity product with all of the Túró Rudis everywhere, except that it had the dotted packaging, and everybody's called it Pöttyös. So somebody thought, why don't we actually, try and build it up as a brand with these very strong colors and associations and names? Was that a bold step?
I think yes. Back in the day, it was rather a bold step, because any global or European trend was reinforcing such a move, because it's such a local thing. That, having a foreign owner, how can you explain to them that, okay, now all the investment would go into a local product, a local brand? Luckily, or thanks to the good concept that the marketeers at that time managed to sell this idea to the management, and then there is no stop in growth ever since then.
When we talk about penetration, we like to talk about going for the light and not the heavy users, and this is also one of the kind of newer findings, this kind of loyalty versus penetration thing. Now, obviously, you can focus on, and common sense would say, oh yeah, let's focus on the people who are really heavy Túró Rudi eaters and Pöttyös. Like, let's give them, if they eat 3 per week, let's give them 5 per week or 7 per week, make it a daily habit, or make it a breakfast and lunch, or after snacking, or here and there. But I guess there's marketing theories found out that there is a a ceiling to this consumption, so you rather have to look at the light and medium users in order to grow your penetration. So how did you tackle this light user syndrome?
Such a super valid thing. What's your guess? What percentage of our light users do we lose on a yearly basis?
What percentage of the light users do you lose?
50.
50.
50. And the more you do to recruit either them or another set of light users, the more you can gain back. But on a yearly basis, we track it regularly, quarterly. We do lose on a yearly basis more than half of our light users. And if we do our job well, then we can recruit more than what we have lost in the quarter or 2 quarters before.
So
Super exciting.
How do you recruit these light users back? What is do you keep on offering
the
them
full
novelty?
array of marketing mix? So let it be price, activation, obviously communication, disruptive media, disruptive shop floor presence, innovation, renovation, influencers, you name it. Given the fact that we have such a massive user base, and like 7 out of 10 households are buying it on a regular basis, we must serve them with different offerings.
But I think we also have to say, just to recap on history, which was one of your first question, that Friesland was one of the very early companies who started to adopt evidence-based marketing. So following the publication of How Brands Grow by Byron Sharp, I think it was 2011, I remember that we talked very soon after that, and we did stuff together.
Yeah.
And I remember that during those conversations, when we talked about penetration with you and your team, you still, maybe not you personally, because I think you were very well educated by the company by that time, but some other people in the organization, I remember the resistance and the idea that, these theories might work in the world like that, but it's not like that. I mean, we Hungarians, we kind of typical to say that it might be true to everyone, but not to us in Hungary and not to this brand. It's really good to hear that since then, you've done so much all across the marketing mix that prove that you can grow penetration and you can grow your customer base. Because you understand you have to maintain the loss of light users. So as we usually say, you think about your customers as a bucket filled with water, and there's a leak.
It's a leaky bucket.
And a leaky bucket, and you have to put more in than what you lose, and it works. And I think so those who know this brand, some people who listens to this podcast will not know this brand so much outside the borders of Hungary, maybe, because actually one interesting feature is that this brand has never really made across the borders, right? Which is rare for a snack, that it has very strong appeal within the market, but it doesn't seem to be able to cross borders easily.
Yeah, true. We have never put any major efforts in doing so. It's very interesting because it has such a peculiar taste that either you acquire in your childhood or there's a high chance that you will not like it later on. So, for example, if someone from France or from Western Europe is visiting us, they really hate it and spit it out immediately, whereas people around Germany, Austria, more from Poland, Czech or Slovakia, they really like it because of the idea. I will never forget. I worked in the UK and brought them I don't know how many different type of products, and I made a big mistake and told them that this is fresh curd with sugar and with lemon aroma and with butter, and they couldn't even taste it because the fresh curd is like cheese. So indeed,
it's hard. But I think maybe later we talk about the innovation and your attitude and strategy to innovation. I guess that probably has a very major role in building those additional penetrations.
Absolutely.
One of the things that we're going to talk about in this in the course is something which is called category entry points, which is also something which I don't know, not many talk about, I guess, in their marketing mix, but it's also a way to increase your penetration and also to gain new users in different occasions. And looking at these entry points, you can go in and answer questions like, where are you consuming it? Why are you with whom are you consuming? With what are you consuming? After what? Before what? Whatever. So I guess if you answer all of these questions and you have a product or maybe a variant, or gets back to the innovation question, which Shotzi was saying, maybe you innovate something around these things and it's also a way to grow. Do you look specifically at these entry points?
Absolutely, absolutely. Not on a yearly basis, because we don't believe that these category entry points would evolve, faster than a year or 2 years or 3 years. So the latest study we've run, I think, 3 years ago. And obviously, if you read the data well, it gives you a hell of a lot of evidence in which direction you should grow your business. And it's not only flavor innovations, size innovations, multi-pack, single pack. You hear a lot about the customers. So I think over the course of the past 5 years, people's thinking have changed dramatically. So it's category. Can you imagine that the fact that it's available, for example, at a hard discounter is a category entry point? I could name a hard discounter without which you can't make a proper introduction, because everybody is trying to find that particular new innovation on the market through that hard discounter. With 78% penetration of them having.
Yeah.
Amazing. If you don't realize that having listed in that particular hard discounter, if you are not listed there, you can't make it.
Well, I guess it comes down to physical availability being one of the very strong levers of growth. That's important.
Not only in the traditional venues.
I think it's nice you talk about, this is, because we're talking about business now. This is hardcore business.
Indeed.
We're not talking about which influencer to use. We're not talking about how many GRPs what type of image ad we're gonna produce. We're talking about how can we grow this product with different variants in size, going into different channels, innovating for different occasions. And this is hardcore business stuff. I just get the feeling that nowadays, talking to marketing people, marketing communications, whatever people, on the client side, this kind of really strong business aspect has kind of disappeared, or maybe not disappeared, but kind of moved to sales or moved to some other territory as well. And marketing has become kind of a vehicle for more of this kind of, tweaking pulp meters on media and influencer stuff. So it's kind of, so that's one of, what is your take on this?
Absolutely, and that's very unfortunate, because marketing is about how to market your product. You must understand the whole picture, your consumers, your non-consumers, your shoppers, your customers, their needs, the whole category entry point, everything. And if you are not in control of these, then you can't propose a good strategy. And unfortunately, that's what I see also. If we try to recruit new people, it's very difficult nowadays to find someone with a proper business sense, because marketeers have now, with few exceptions, have become truly focused on advertising, communication, tweaking the influencers, as you said, which is a very important aspect, but like 10% of the full picture.
Yeah.
The market also has changed a lot, I think, in the last decade. So it's, I'm in touch with a relatively broad client portfolio. It's very rare, except for the FMCG companies who produce in the country. You don't really meet this end-to-end marketing anymore. In other sectors, like telco, for example, me as a strategist in an advertising agency doing some consulting work as well, I work with people in the comms department, and I'm not saying it's isolated from marketing, but the marketing function is dispersed all across different departments, and you don't really have this integrated marketing approach, except from the very top,
True.
which I normally don't work with in that sector. So I think it's if somebody who really wants to apply up-to-date, contemporary marketing principles with that has growth in its target, it's very hard if you are not responsible for all the spectrum.
True.
And you do have an influence on pricing and portfolio and innovation and everything, and only that way you can make sure that the penetration that is required for growth is coming into your bucket.
Yeah, I'm very, very blessed that in our company, I am responsible for each and every part of the marketing mix, including pricing, including distribution, including portfolio, including R&D, and so on and so on. So I am P&L responsible, meaning that I must fulfill the utmost needs of our owners as well as our buyers and consumers.
Mm-hmm. So we talked about penetration, talked about category entry points, and one of the next big things we aim to talk about is something which is obviously very big with Pöttyös, which is the mental and physical availability, and you know, or the salience. The question is, let's talk about mental availability first. The brand iconography is so strong, and you know the name, whatever. So I think it's kind of transcended this. You know, there's very few brands which can claim that if you take off the brand name, obviously, then you still have a very high recognition of what the brand is. And I guess, I don't know, Unicum and Pöttyös or whatever, you know, and I don't know, Pick, and some of these brands are so ingrained in the psyche. When you build these kind of mental patterns and you aim to reinforce what is happening in the customer's head, what else do you do beside this brand iconography? What kind of things do you focus on when you try and build mental availability for the product?
The brand cues are the utmost important for us. So we are not really communicating a very well articulated set of values. It's a long story, that we've tried.
Do you need to?
That's a good question. I think it would be ideal to have something, but in case of Pöttyös, it's so, I must confess that it's bloody difficult. Given the vast user base and all the imagery and all the emotions and all the good and bad mainly good, luckily, experiences with the brand, it's very difficult for them and also for us to find something, you know, the North Star that would lead everybody into a certain direction. I think the fact itself that whether we are articulating it or not, the thing that it's ours, we are not articulating per se, but everybody feels so that it is ours, whether it's left wing or right wing or in the middle or whatsoever, it's ours. And that's the common denominator that people, consumers, whether it's a non-consumer, it's ours. If someone who has dairy allergy or who doesn't like this type of product, if foreigner comes and would like to introduce the country, the very first thing is that they show that, look, we have such a weird product, taste it, it's ours. And I think it's good. So it's...
But is it slightly unorthodox? And I'm challenging you on this. I mean, if you look at whatever, Skittles, you know, you look at your international competition, tasting the rainbow, you're not you when you're hungry, have a kind of Oreo device that you, whatever, what do you call this, a kind of...
like a brand idea or a platform idea.
Like a platform.
We've been looking for this together for
a
long
That's
time.
why I said we have...
But the question, I mean, really the question is, you're getting, you seem to be getting by pretty well without having one. So it is a kind of unorthodox way, but still I think the brand cues are so strong, and this kind of the connection with the customer that if you say, I don't know, I mean, if you say something, maybe it will detour.
I think it is just my opinion
Sure.
as an observer from the outside, that this brand has always been almost equal to the category. So I know that there are competitive brands. I don't know about market shares, but I have the feeling that competition has never actually come very, very like dangerously strong to this brand. It's very immune, not at all vulnerable. And I think if I look back, one thing you can surely observe is that maybe this brand has not had the brand idea or a purpose or whatever, Northern Star. You know, we've been looking for that. Everything just felt like a compromise. But one thing this brand has always done, and that maybe because the brand didn't have that kind of brand idea, it has used the brand, the visual assets and the other assets, so these distinctive brand assets, the brand cues, as you say, very consistently. And in fact, if you look at marketing research into effectiveness and growth, there's a lot of conclusions coming out these days about the compound effect of consistency. And that is actually very rare. So if you look at other brands, they are changing brand ideas or creative platforms way too often. And as we always say, when we talk to brands and we use evidence-based marketing and new findings of marketing theory, we always start. And when I do my work, I always start from this, that I know that people are not interested in brands. They are not interested in advertising. They are interested in their own lives. And then you understand that, okay, and people sometimes they want to buy some snacks. So they go into a whatever shop, and our job is to make sure that if it comes to their mind to buy some kind of a snack, I want this brand to come to mind first. And it's very easy for us, people, normal human beings, to recall Pöttyös when we want to buy something, especially when we want to buy something relatively healthier than those competitive brands. I think the interesting question then becomes, what happens when you expand into a new field like you did recently with the protein, Rudi? So for those who don't know, this snack bar, now it's a refrigerated snack bar that has fresh cottage cheese in it. It's mostly fresh cottage cheese.
It's fresh cottage cheese, butter and sugar, so it's a nice texture.
So that's it. So now this snack goes into, I would say, a functional food territory. We know that protein is very popular now. It's claimed like something that you definitely need if you do sports. You definitely need if you are young. You definitely need if you are a teenager. You need if you are worrying about your longevity. When you are older.
Exactly.
Everyone needs protein. And protein, your protein intake in your mind as a human being is in a totally different place, or might be in a totally different place than a snack. And so I think it will be really, really interesting to see how all the equity of Pöttyös, all those strengths, how are they, yielding benefits and this salience and mental availability in this new field. And it seems, I guess, from your growth history, it seems that it works really well.
Yeah, we sold our budget in 3 months time, honestly. And it's a positively shocking fact that in 3 months time we sold as much protein Túró Rudi as the biggest local, I think they are also international, ambient protein bar does in a year. So it's amazing. It's building extra penetration, making it more accessible, and we call it that we democratize the protein trend because Pöttyös is so accessible, available.
So you were mentioning you sold out very quickly with this new protein bar, but so there's two things which come. One is the physical availability. We talked about mental availability. The thing we didn't talk about yet too much, but I think this hinges on physical availability. So the sheer size of the brand and the amount of channels that you are in makes it very accessible for the people to find whatever they are looking for, right? So I think, Pöttyös is really a good demonstration of finding a product at any arm's length wherever you go, right? So I think this is something that you obviously focused on very strongly.
Exactly. That's our strategy, to be available at arm's reach. Obviously, there was a tipping point when the brand became that strong that we could make it available also at petrol stations, at canteens, in vending machines, whatsoever. But till then, we had to push it like hard just to make it accessible and available wherever consumers, because this is, at the end of the line, this is an impulse category. So you must be wherever consumers might long for something sweet or something just for a bite of snack.
And then it becomes just, I guess, making that little shelf space available for your innovations, right? So which you put in.
Yeah, it's if you are talking about innovation, it's a big thing, I believe. Innovation, renovation, it's really important, because the famous rule of 80-20 does work for the favor of the core, the plain, the original one. Still, you can capture market share and shelf shares through the innovations and all the variants. So you can see Coca-Cola 20% shelf share, 80% market share from the core. The same with us. And absolutely, it is important. You must bring new news to the market. This is how you shake up consumers. You can't always tell the same to consumers. You must grab their attention. And if you, obviously, it's a well-known fact how many advertising impulses consumers are exposed to nowadays. If you are not delivering them something relevant with a brand that they really love, or at least they are familiar with, then you can go down the drain very easily. So innovation in terms of growth is important, but also for maintaining the core is very important.
I think I would have two observations here to this topic. One is maybe just sharing for those who don't know this brand, that I would believe that innovating on this brand is not so tremendously expensive, because when we say innovation here, it's not innovation in the sense that you reinvent something and you come up with something that is completely new. But the 80-20 is true also in the sense that the innovation is kind of incremental what you already have. So it's a new flavor, it's a new format, it's a step out to sugar-free, it's a step out to protein, but it's the same thing. It remains the same thing.
And not changing the old to a new one, but expanding the range further.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not coming up with Túró Rudi in a jar or something.
Yeah.
It's you are consistent to the truth of the product, and we've talked briefly about mental availability and the lack or not lack of a brand idea behind this fantastic iconic brand. But what I've seen over and as we said, we've tried to crack that together, maybe not even once, maybe twice.
Yeah.
And if I think about the past 10 years or so, and I think about how the world of media has changed, how cluttered attention is, how difficult it is to push through the attention threshold, which in advertising, of course, this is different in different formats and platforms, but we have to say this is 2.5 seconds, the attention memory threshold. It's very, very low. And I have the feeling that actually you are buying a lot of attention with this new news. So you have the pistachio flavor was launched recently, right? I've heard so many people, my kids, family, people in the office, they all talk about let's try the pistachio Pöttyös. And
7 days ago.
7 days ago. It's and I know in my family, my husband does the shopping. He had to search, and that's an interesting thing. Normally, we don't think about innovation in a way as a tool to attention, but it is in this case. And I think delivering this news value to the market actually buys media value also.
Absolutely, consumer generated. So it's like free advertising through social media. Everybody is so susceptible for all these new news. I fully agree. I wouldn't even call it innovation, but it's something like, it's not a breakthrough innovation, it's an innovation for the sake of novelty. We are calling it rather novelty, but it's, as you rightfully said, it's an excellent tool to drive your incremental business as well as to grab attention like this.
Yeah.
Because it's difficult to cut through the clutter other than that.
Do you have like an innovation portfolio? So you say you renovate the core, yeah, right? So you have to focus on the core, maybe add some new flavors or whatever. But then you have the adjacent stuff. So maybe the protein is adjacent, or is that something completely in a laboratory, very distant, or a Pöttyös in a jar? Do you have this kind of mapped out for the future in terms of where you are going, and you specifically use this rule and managing the brand in that way for launching these innovations?
Yeah. As I said, we continuously tracking the category entry points and trying to find out how. Obviously, we are working in FMCG. Everybody must grow. So we must grow also, not only through pricing and creating extra value for our owners, but in case of a brand that has 70% penetration and 42 plus market share, it's difficult to grow the current business, and the brand now has much more than the Túró Rudi itself. So we launched a chocolate milk like 5 years ago, which is performing very well. We didn't know at the beginning how it would perform, but consumers reacted to it very well, as well as we have so many ideas in the pipeline that the brand could leverage in the future.
Do you have a story of like a medium to major flop as well, or?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I can. But that's such as life. Like you must learn from it. We launched a spoonable dessert under Pöttyös. Maybe you remember that. It was, I think, 4 or 5 years ago, and we did the research, extensive product development, and I think we made the flop on a way that we tried to recreate the consistent, or this granular, so not the smooth texture of the Túró, but it has some these the
mouthfeel.
Yeah, we try to recreate the mouthfeel of Túró, the corpus of the Túró Rudi in a spoonable format. Didn't go well.
Is it still available?
No. But you as a responsible business partner towards the customers, you must say at a certain point, guys, thanks for your attention.
Thanks for trying.
Exactly.
On to the next.
Exactly. And it's not a flop, it's a flop in business.
Sure.
It wasn't even flop from P&L wise, but it was a flop from trying and making an error point of view. But for consumers, and that's I think some marketers tend to think that if there is a flop on the market, consumers would devalue the brand, but it's not. If it's obviously a major harm for the brand, then it's a flop also in consumers' mind. But we haven't experienced that.
I think from Pöttyös it would also be very, authentic and whatever to say, whatever you said, right? You say, guys, we want to please you so much every time. This didn't work out. Yeah. Now we're going to go to whatever pistachio and the other stuff. And
but
so
I also find it really interesting that we often say that, we marketers, we are obsessed with managing the brands, and it was a perfect logic to expand Pöttyös into the spoonable category. And as you say, you proved it with research and everything, but people are not marketers.
Exactly.
And they have different things in mind. And it's interesting to see that they are very happy with the protein product, they are very happy with the chocolate milk, and they were not happy with the spoonable dessert. And it's always interesting to find out why is it. And often it turns out that the spoonable dessert might have appeared as a very similar category because it's in the fridge or something. Yeah. So you could think that this is the same category, but it seems that for people, it's not at all the same category. Exactly. It's in their mind, it's sitting somewhere else, and the brand simply doesn't seem elastic enough to expand into that.
Yeah, exactly. And another flop that we tried, ice cream, but unfortunately we were in a situation that we couldn't renew the portfolio fast enough, or we couldn't supply, because ice cream is a very, very, very dynamically MPD driven, at least. And we couldn't renew the portfolio, and then simply the attention went down. So it was also a flop. Despite the business flop, it wasn't a flop from consumers' perspective.
We talked about a lot of very serious stuff: business growth, penetration, entry points, 80-20 rules of product launches, pricing, mental and physical availability. But the truth of the matter is, nowadays, as we started off, and we go in a loop now because we come back, nowadays the story is not about this. The story is about who are your influencers that you use, how do you use your digital marketing, how are you available in culture, how do you grab the moment rather than long-term brand building. And I think the aim of our course maybe is just to balance this out somewhat. So, basically I think everything is around this. So I think it's worth talking about all, the other aspects which we talked about just now. But how do you see this? Is your life around influencers and digital marketing as well, revolving around this topic as well?
It is, but based on my feeling, our life, in our business life with my colleagues, is much less about influencers and all the media and all marketing communication than for others, because it might sound weird, but we know and we have experienced that marketing is much more than this. This is only a tiny, I can say, it's only a tiny aspect of the whole marketing mix. It is important, but without the rest, you can't use it as a sole true solution for driving the business forward. It is important, but it's just only a tiny segment of the entire marketing mix.
So is Pöttyös using influencers more and more heavily, kind of trying to tap into millennial culture and whatever?
Absolutely. A week ago we had a big workshop trying to find out how to communicate to Gen Z and millennials and so on, because they are coming up, and it's really difficult to keep up the pace with them. And us being Generation X, it's really, really difficult. But it's really important. And I must say that it's evidence-based marketing, yet we do a lot of experimental stuff. And I believe that pace is sometimes more important than being accurate. I would rather say that I'd rather be 70% ready and do it fast than being 90% or 95% ready, because it's you can correct a lot on the fly than waiting and finalizing and again so it's, and it does work very well.
And sorry, sure.
No, I just wanted to add that it was really interesting. I think it was last year a research came out that mapped out factors of marketing success. So they wanted to see what contributes how much to marketing success or growth, you can say it that way. And the single biggest factor, as you talked about using influencers, you can talk about creativity or distribution or whatever, pricing, all those factors included. The single biggest factor of marketing success is brand size.
Absolutely.
And Pöttyös is a dominant brand in its category.
Absolutely.
So just going back to the evidence-based findings, even the very early ones, the double jeopardy. When you have a brand of that size in a category, your game is totally different to when you have a small challenger brand.
That's what I see as well. Also as a consumer, if you see around, you don't really see that much new brand launched. Instead, well-established brands are trying to come up also in different categories because those brands resonate very well with consumers. My favorite example was in the UK when Mars and Galaxy came out with iced coffee. Because iced coffee was a brand that was booming like hell. Mars iced coffee, Galaxy iced coffee. The two brands, the brand category match was not there, but still they wanted to capitalize on the power of their brand in a very fast evolving category. So absolutely, the brand does matter, especially if you have such a big user base or at least familiar base.
Right, I think we have to cut ourselves short. Very interesting discussion. Thank you very much. Any closing thoughts, your tips for some of our students or some of our listeners, potential people who will be attending the course? What do they have to focus on in this day and age?
Don't be afraid of trying new things. I think that I love the Dune movie, and they said that fear is the mind killer. And I was laughing out loud when I heard that in the movie, and because that's so much true. If you are afraid of innovating also in your daily operations, then you cannot succeed, because the world is changing so fast, and you can't always prove for yourself or your main stakeholders that that's going to be the solution, because there is never the solution. So always come up with new ideas, accept failure fast, and then move on. Keep on innovating also in your daily routine. That fear is the worst thing, the worst advisor that you can have. And also, if you are a good leader, you are really trying to empower your good colleagues to come up with new ideas. Do it, and then admit if it was a failure and move forward fast. That's my probably best advice that I could give.
Thank you very much. Great closing words. Once again, thank you for listening in to this SEEDea podcast. To our guests, thank you very much, Sarolta and Dani. And also, please don't forget to look at our website, look at our focus programs, which we've just launched, and especially the marketing for business leaders, strategic marketing for business leaders. Thank you very much for your attention. See you all soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.